Welcome to Hero Villains. Who do you think would win when Onslaught faces the Antimatter, the clash between supreme consciousness and the destroyer of the multiverse? Onslaught is a dark manifestation born from the twisted fusion of the minds of Charles Xavier and Magneto. He is not merely a villain, but a living nightmare in which supreme intellect and absolute hatred merge into one. Onslaught possesses Omega-level psionic power, the ability to control matter, manipulate energy, warp reality, and crush an opponent's will with a single thought. With his transcendent intellect, he fights like a cold and calculating strategist, always several steps ahead of his enemies. Standing against him is the antimatter, an ancient entity born from antimatter, the destroyer of countless universes during the crisis on infinite Earths. The antimatter has no need for elaborate schemes, because his very existence is the apocalypse. His power is nearly limitless, capable of absorbing multiversal energy, manipulating space and time, and erasing entire realities simply by being present. To the antimatter, life itself is nothing more than fuel. Before we dive deeper into the analysis, please subscribe to the channel and remember to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thank you all very much. Onslaught is the twisted culmination of hatred, resentment, and the deepest darkness within the minds of the two greatest mutant icons. This entity was born when the minds of Professor X and Magneto temporarily merged at a moment when the mutant world stood on the brink of collapse. The tragedy erupted when Magneto tore the adamantium from Wolverine's skeleton, pushing Xavier to the absolute limits of reason and compassion. Professor X unleashed his full telepathic power to subdue Magneto, leaving him in a coma. However, that act carried a horrific consequence. Xavier inadvertently absorbed all of Magneto's rage, hatred, and despair, blending them with the darkness he himself had long tried to bury. That conflicted psychic fusion gave birth to Onslaught, an independent consciousness hidden deep within Xavier's mind. At first, Onslaught existed in a dormant state, like a tightly sealed nightmare. Over time, however, Xavier's growing disappointment with humanity's hostility toward mutants, along with repeated personal losses, unknowingly nurtured the entity. When Xavier's astral form was dragged into the physical plane by Nate Gray, Onslaught was finally unleashed. He emerged not only with terrifying power, but also carrying all the fear, anger, and despair of two great minds that once sought to protect the world. After fully seizing control of both the body and consciousness of Professor X, Onslaught revealed his horrifying ambition. He sought to force the X-Men to abandon the path of coexistence and enter into direct military confrontation with humanity. When faced with resistance, Onslaught did not hesitate to unleash his full power, initiating a bold plan to merge all of humanity into a single collective consciousness. To achieve this goal, he captured and absorbed Franklin Richards and Nate Gray, two beings whose power far exceeded normal limits. At first, Onslaught's ideology mirrored Magneto's belief in absolute mutant supremacy. However, upon accessing memories of the Age of Apocalypse timeline through Nate Gray, he realized a bitter truth. Even when mutants ruled, the world was still consumed by ruin and violence. This realization did not deter Onslaught, but instead pushed him further down the path of destruction. Faced with an uncontrollable threat, heroes from the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and the Avengers set aside their differences to fight together. The confrontation was brutal and unforgiving, with every victory paid for through painful loss. Yet the price the heroes had to pay nearly exceeded their endurance. In a moment when all seemed lost to despair, Franklin Richards used his power to create a pocket universe, saving them from a tragic end. Onslaught inherited supreme intellect, absolute telepathic ability, and magnetokinetic power on a catastrophic scale. At the height of the Onslaught assault, he single-handedly confronted the combined forces of Earth's heroes, including the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men. He could create a second sun in space, bend reality with pure thought, and wield physical strength, rivaling the Hulk without Banner's restraint. Every step he took made space tremble, and every strike carried the sensation of an approaching doomsday. Onslaught also mastered telepathy to a terrifying degree. He could travel in astral form, read residual psychic impressions left on objects, and sense spatial fractures and dimensional anomalies from vast distances. The thoughts of others were like open books to him, easily read, twisted, and rewritten. Even the most powerful telepaths were almost completely incapable of resisting him. Onslaught also has the ability to create psychic illusions so realistic that victims believe they are reliving a memory or a tragedy. He can conceal his own presence and that of others, disguising appearances through consciousness itself, causing the world to perceive an entirely different form. It is this fusion of absolute power and profound mind manipulation that transforms Onslaught from a mere enemy into the most vivid living nightmare the heroes have ever faced. Onslaught's telepathic power reaches a level capable of completely controlling the Hulk when the Green Giant is in a calm state. This is almost unimaginable, as Hulk possesses an extremely strong resistance to mental manipulation. For Professor X and Magneto, that resistance is even weaker, because Onslaught's power was born from them, like a perfect key opening the door directly into their consciousness. Onslaught can erase specific memories, disrupt streams of thought, and push opponents into a state of complete emptiness. With nothing more than intent, he can render a person mentally paralyzed, stripping them of the ability to resist even while their body remains intact. He can also construct formidable psychic barriers, shielding himself and his allies from intrusion by other Omega-level telepaths, turning the mind into an impregnable fortress. Onslaught can unleash waves of psychic energy that inflict excruciating pain, knocking opponents unconscious or even killing them in silence. Even more terrifying is that this power is still sufficient to affect Juggernaut, a being famously protected by a helmet designed to block psychic abilities. By slowing Juggernaut for only a brief moment, Onslaught proved that before his power, no defense is truly absolute. Onslaught not only dominates the mind, but also commands invisible dimensions. He can travel and communicate with others within the astral realm, where the soul is freed from all material constraints. Within this space, Onslaught uses his power to construct objects with extra-dimensional forms, sustained entirely by psychic energy. Even so, his astral projection remains limited, and his ability to manipulate objects with thought alone reaches extraordinary precision. He can dismantle complex machines with a single thought, lifting massive structures weighing tons as if they were weightless. The true limits of this power remain unknown, as no one has ever witnessed him push to his absolute edge. In addition, Onslaught can generate nearly flawless force fields, capable of deflecting devastating attacks and even filtering bacteria from the surrounding air. He can project telepathic energy directly from his brain as powerful beams, impacting physical matter and causing violent shockwaves. He also possesses the ability to phase through solid matter by shifting his own molecules, passing through all obstacles like a tangible ghost. Most frightening of all, the refinement of Onslaught's control allows him to manipulate individual grains of dust and particles of moisture, bending light to create vivid three-dimensional images. In an instant, the reality before one's eyes can become nothing more than a stage he has constructed himself, where every sense is deceived and all familiar limits lose their meaning. I truly hope you will subscribe to the channel. It would help us tremendously, and you are absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. Now let us talk about the Anti-Monitor. The Anti-Monitor is one of the three sons of Perpetua, brought into existence when she tore primal fragments from the Overvoid to create entities entrusted with cosmic missions. He existed before creation itself, tasked with guarding the boundaries of creation against the vast omniverse beyond. This duty was later transferred to the Source Wall, and that change became the seed of tragedy. It was his own brother, the Monitor, who deliberately initiated the usurpation of power, igniting a long and devastating war between two nearly immortal entities. During his campaign of domination, Mobius discovered the anti-life equation at the heart of the antimatter universe and became permanently bound to its destructive power. He enslaved the entire antimatter universe, turning it into his personal empire, creating the Thunderers of Q Ward and selecting the most elite beings to transform into the shadow demons who served him with absolute loyalty. The conflict between Mobius and Mar Novu lasted for millions of years, and Mobius was the one who initiated the Crisis on Infinite Earths, an event that shook all realities. Although he was once defeated by the Spectre and the heroes of Earth, he returned with the rebirth of the multiverse in Year 2. In an incomplete state, he joined the Sinestro Corps as a Guardian, only to be defeated again and fall into the hands of Necron, who enslaved his nearly dead body as a power source for the Black Lantern Corps. Revived by the Life Entity, Mobius once again entered into confrontation with Darkseid after Flashpoint in an attempt to eliminate the anti-life equation. Although he achieved his objective, he was ultimately destroyed by that very power through the scheme of Grail. After returning to the 6th dimension, the whereabouts of the Anti-Monitor remain a mystery to this day, like a colossal specter lurking at the edge of all realities. The power of the Anti-Monitor is not a fixed constant, but fluctuates according to the amount of energy he possesses. At his lowest state, he already reaches the multiversal level, equal to the Monitor and far beyond most familiar cosmic entities. At this level, Darkseid has virtually no chance of escape if the Anti-Monitor completes the destruction of infinite universes, and even Apocalypse could be completely erased. He once defeated the Superman of Earth 1, overwhelmed ordinary Green Lanterns, and was powerful enough to confront even the Guardians of the Universe. Even icons such as Cyborg, Superman were destroyed by him, and Superboy Prime could only claim victory when the Anti-Monitor had been severely weakened. When absorbing energy on a greater scale, especially the energy of the antimatter universe, the Anti-Monitor ascends to an expanded multiversal level. After stealing the life force of heroes to compensate for losses during his journey toward the dawn of time, he nearly became the hand of a twisted creation, a being capable of ensuring that the positive matter multiverse never existed at all. In this state, he was powerful enough to face a fully amplified Spectre, turning every clash into a catastrophe. The destructive capacity of the Anti-Monitor is further demonstrated through antimatter waves, a phenomenon capable of sweeping across all worlds at every moment, aimed at erasing infinite universes within a single cycle. Even at a power level comparable to the era of the Crisis on Infinite Earths, the anti-life equation had already elevated Mobius to a cosmic scale, causing Metron to fear that all of reality would collapse if he were not stopped. At his absolute peak, the Anti-Monitor reaches an expanded extraversal level. When standing alongside his two brothers in the 6th dimension, he is ranked among the most powerful beings ever known, surpassing even Mr. MXZPTLK. At that boundary, the Anti-Monitor is no longer merely a destroyer, but becomes a symbol of the end itself, where all concepts of space, time, and reality can be crushed by his mere existence. The speed of the Anti-Monitor, at a certain level, reaches infinite velocity, comparable to pre-Crisis Supergirl. When his power is amplified, his speed rises to superluminal extremes, rivaling an empowered Spectre, allowing the Anti-Monitor to appear and vanish like a fleeting thought of the universe itself. Even in lower states, he still achieves at least faster than light speed, enough to keep pace with Darkseid during the War era and render any attempt at pursuit or reaction by opponents utterly futile. The durability of the Anti-Monitor is no less terrifying. He once battled Mar Novu for an entire million years before falling, enduring clashes on a cosmic scale. He survived direct attacks from pre-Crisis Supergirl, blows powerful enough to tear reality apart. Even when severely weakened, the Anti-Monitor was not destroyed by the explosion of Warworld and the Yellow Energy Battery, a power source capable of annihilating an entire galaxy. Though he suffered catastrophic damage, after devouring an antimatter star, the combined forces of multiple pre-Crisis heroes were nearly incapable of inflicting any meaningful harm. In that state, the Anti-Monitor was like a living fortress, where every attack dissolved into meaninglessness. He is not only faster than light or resilient against cosmic forces, but also the symbol of an entity that is nearly impossible to stop. This Anti-Monitor represents his most powerful incarnation. In this form, he absorbed the multiverse and became vastly stronger than ever before. As I mentioned, he destroyed nearly the entire multiverse, leaving only 5 universes. The Anti-Monitor is one of the most powerful and most malevolent villains of all time. The battle begins as Onslaught appears like a colossal god of war. his entire form erupting with psychic energy intertwined with violent magnetic fields. He stands amid shattered space with absolute confidence, believing that no consciousness can escape his control. Facing him, the Anti-Monitor, with his massive antimatter body, merely observes in silence. In that cold gaze, Onslaught is not an equal opponent, but simply another obstacle on the path to multiversal destruction. Without hesitation, Onslaught strikes first, expanding his consciousness to invade the mind of the Anti-Monitor. He constructs overlapping illusions and drags his foe into layered astral planes filled with traps, where reality is warped by thought alone. Telepathy and telekinesis are pushed to their limits, forming psychic dimensions in which images of Marvel heroes launch relentless attacks. Yet the Anti-Monitor barely wavers. His ancient antimatter nature means he does not possess a conventional mind that can be manipulated. In an instant, beams of antimatter energy erupt, tearing through space and disintegrating part of Onslaught's armor. Onslaught immediately counters with the magnetic power inherited from Magneto. Invisible shields form, fragments of space are compressed and hurled like weapons of annihilation. He absorbs the surrounding energy, attempting to turn the Anti-Monitor into a psychic puppet. But the Anti-Monitor begins his true counter-offensive. He expands his absorption on a cosmic scale, draining the energy of the surrounding space, causing Onslaught's power to visibly diminish. Each collision between the two entities generates shockwaves powerful enough to crush nearby planets. Pushed to his limits, Onslaught erupts into his peak state, reminiscent of the era when he overwhelmed the Avengers and the X-Men. A magnetic neutron star construct is formed, dense and catastrophic, hurtling directly toward the Anti-Monitor. But with the experience of erasing countless Earths, the Anti-Monitor unleashes an antimatter wave that sweeps away all astral layers, proving that his multiversal power far surpasses any psychic structure. In a final effort, Onslaught merges with the surrounding space, drawing energy from multiple dimensions. Space itself trembles as if on the verge of collapse under his existence. However, the Anti-Monitor activates his antimatter cannon, the very weapon that once erased entire universes, and aims it directly at Onslaught's energy core. A colossal psychic storm erupts in resistance, but before the Anti-Monitor's near limitless regeneration and absorption, every defense collapses one by one. He pierces straight through the final barrier, begins to disintegrate Onslaught from within, and ends the confrontation with the cold efficiency of one long familiar with the apocalypse. The victor is the Anti-Monitor. I hope you enjoyed this battle. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Follow me if you like. That is today's video. Thank you very much.